Hi, this is Susan from Inner Wisdom Healing Arts. I haven't posted for a while. August has been a really busy month for me, and it is about the theme, change is the only constant. My daughter moved back home over a year ago now, and I was so glad to have her home. Really glad to have her home. She had been out on the road traveling the country in a converted school bus for about 4 years, and I was really happy for her to have those adventures, but I also knew things weren't really good in her life, and she came back. She had had enough, and she was ready for change. So I was really thrilled to have her back. and then about the time that she came back, my son moved out of state, which was actually a really great move for him. So it was a wonderful journey, and I got to spend quality time with him. And then my daughter was back, and we really got to deepen our relationship. We had really been distant for a while, a number of years. So the past year has been a real gift for me. And in part of that year, she got pregnant, and so I got to go through the process of her pregnancy, and I was her birth partner. So on August 15th, she gave birth to my grandson, so that was wonderful. We were up for almost 24 hours. It was a really challenging labor, and then she ended up with a C-section, but he's healthy and beautiful, and a wonderful change. But also on top of that, for the past 10 years, I've been a caretaker, taking care of, I took care of my stepfather before he passed. And then, as my mother declined, taking care of her more and more. And 5 days after my grandson was born, my mother passed. She was 94. And we suspected that she was holding on for her grandson to be born, and it was after he was born you could see her fade. Yeah, so and it goes back to the only constant is change, right? So I got to witness the birth of life as my daughter transitioned and carried this young life into welcoming him into the world, and then saying goodbye to my mother as she passed out. And it certainly isn't the first death I've experienced. I sat with one of my brothers as he passed, and then my stepfather had passed. But my mother and I were close, and being her caretaker, it's been a challenging number of years. And I was reflecting as I was, in that period after she passed, and actually before hospice came, I sat with her, and what I heard was, I'm not here you'll find me in the garden. And of course, that made so much sense, you know. My mother was finally free of the body that was really, really wearing her down. You know, she was tired. She had been tired for years. I was amazed that she hung on as long as she did. And she had always loved gardening. So, yeah, to hear that was nice. So, and it reminds me now, because I love gardening also. I love being out in nature. So it reminds me now when I'm out there that, especially every time I see a butterfly or you know, I'm really feeling that connection with her. But it's funny how things change. You know, there's a flow. Sometimes we try to force change, but if we can just be with it. I know there were a lot of times over the years when I would get very tired and frustrated and feeling burnt out as a caretaker, that, you know, I just prayed for some kind of change, some kind of relief. You know, and the reality of it was, I was the only change I had any control over was within myself. So many times I had to remind myself of that and find a way to make a shift for myself. And then when she passed, you know, it's the little changes. It's like my daily routine revolved around my mother. You know, I found myself still going into her room to open and close the curtains. When I was cleaning up the kitchen before the funeral, because we were going to have family over to the house after the funeral, there was a space at the table where her wheelchair was parked. So, you know, I had removed a chair, and, you know, it kind of hit me then as I'm cleaning the floor that, oh, it's time to put that chair back. So there's a void where my mother was. And slowly things are shifting. You know, the chair's going back because she'll no longer be in that space. You know, I no longer need to go in and open and close her bedroom curtains. I'm grateful that I have new life around me too. You know, that's, boy, talk about change. You know, Liam's only 3 weeks old, and you can already see the change, the shifts. We just need to be patient with it. It happens so naturally, doesn't it? It really does. So, you know, I guess my message today is about being present. Being present with ourselves, and how are we adapting to the change around us? What change is it that we want? Sometimes we're, you know, like I said, there were just times I was praying for change because I just felt so overwhelmed, and just really had to take a step back, realizing that, you know, I couldn't push, pull, or force it to happen, anything to happen, other than to come within myself, to see what it was I needed, and to be that change for myself, be there for myself. Yeah. And at times I needed to reach out for support. Yeah. So if you're a caretaker, I am sure you will know exactly what I'm talking about. I was on a dementia caretaker support group, and that's a challenging road. It really is. But that's probably a story for another time. So what change is happening in your life? Can you ebb and flow with it? Can you be a positive influence? And then allow. What are your intentions? That's what I'm really saying. Is what are your intentions? So, an intention can be as simple as waking up in the morning and saying, it's a good day. It's a good day. And then looking around and acknowledging everything good in your life. And sometimes it's just the simplest things, you know, seeing that butterfly, feeling the sun on your face. I know when I walk my dog in the morning, I usually really appreciate the quiet. Really appreciate the quiet of the morning. So no matter what change is happening in your life, the birth, the death, whatever transitions, there's beauty in it. So I hope you can enjoy it, find joy in it in some way. I know my mother is in a good place. She'd always loved to dance, so now that she's free of that 94-year-old body that was really weighing her down, she's light and she's out there dancing. And I'm looking forward to communicating with her at some point. Yeah, I know at some point we'll get to communicate again. So I know life is eternal. And even though I know she'll be there for us in many different ways, her soul has so much to do. So I wish her the best. And I'm so excited to see my grandson step into his life and already seeing, you know, just the simplest of challenges and changes as he's growing into a new life. We've all come here for a lesson and a purpose. What's yours? See you soon.